5 reasons not to live in Tucson, Arizona. My name is Emilio. I'm a local realtor out here in Tucson, Arizona, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and I've also been active duty for almost a decade now. So if you're looking to buy or sell a home in the area, or you're coming to the area, please reach out to me and I'd love to help. Click my link down below in the description and you can book a one-on-one call if you'd like. Or if you just want to text me or give me a phone call, my phone number is right here, 520-820-1948. Pause, take a picture of it, or write it down. Alright, so this video is going to be about the down and dirty of Tucson. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything, I'm not going to BS you, but don't get me wrong, this is an amazing town. It has a lot to offer, it's so diverse, and it's pretty awesome. I lived here for a year now, and it's been treating me pretty well. But with that, there's also some cons that come with this city. And I just want to equip you with the most information that you can have to make a decision. A lot of people like to sugarcoat that information, and I want to give you the most significant cons that I found living here. Alright, reason number 5 not to live in Tucson. And you knew it was coming, the weather. Now, obviously, the weather is going to be one of the biggest reasons that people don't like living here. And it's true, during the summer, it gets blazing hot, well above 100 degrees, super dry heat, so you're just baking. And God forbid you forget to put your sunshade up in your car, because when you step in that thing, you're going to be cooking. And it's even pretty common in here to actually get your windshield itself tinted. Because if you're like me and you drive an older Honda Civic that has a giant windshield, you're going to be letting in a lot of sunlight. Not to mention my interior is black, so it also absorbs a lot of that heat. These are just going to be a little of the few things that you're going to have to consider when you actually live here. And the heat and the weather is just going to affect so many things. For example, when I initially got here, my wife and I had the most chapped lips and the dried nose. We came from a tropical island in Japan that was super humid, 100% humidity every day. And we immediately jumped into one of the driest and hottest places in the US. So not only does your body have to physically get used to it, but you also have to emotionally and mentally get past that heat. Now, my wife and I got here in the middle of summer, and it took us about, honestly, a month and a half to really get used to it. And that heat can stretch out all the way to the end of the year. And for example, this year, we didn't really start seeing cooler temps till about the end of December, beginning of January. So if the heat is something that you're not willing to endure, especially dry heat, then that might be a good reason not to move here. Alright, reason number 4, the distance and the highways and the streets. Alright, I'm originally from LA County where you have so many streets and highways running through everything. And now I know I'm pretty spoiled coming from that area, but I'm just so used to so many streets and just having so many options as far as driving to town and neighboring cities and other towns too. But here in Tucson, you really only have one major highway, the I-10, running through the entire city. And it's just such a pain in the rear sometimes having to drive from the north, south, or vice versa. And honestly, something that I've realized just living here and being from a super populous area is just that Tucson is so separated. Everything is so distance away from each other. Everything from like your home, your neighborhoods, the towns, and honestly like the grocery stores and things like that. I live in Vail and it takes me about 15 minutes just to go to Walmart. And if I drove that distance in, let's say, around LA County, I would be over to the neighboring city by then. So if you're also from a super populous city, then that might be an issue that you're going to run into here. And another thing that I've run into also is just the deteriorated roads. There's a lot of streets and neighborhoods that I go drive around in, and the roads just seem so old. Again, you do have that Arizona heat just pounding on them all day long, but that's also something that you might observe out here. It's just those deteriorated roads, a lot of potholes. But you'll find that not only in neighborhoods, but also your little shopping centers too. Again, going back to my little Civic, I can't count how many times I didn't catch a pothole and I smacked my frame just because of the low clearance of the car, and it hurts my soul. Alright, reason number 3 not to live in Tucson. Now again, I'm not normally one to talk down on things, but the homelessness out here, it's pretty bad sometimes. So depending on the areas that you're going to be in, the homelessness is going to be a little bit more rampant than others. Now I can't technically tell you where it is, and that's considered steering for real estate agents, and I'm legally not allowed to do that. But if you ask someone that's lived here, or if you personally start living here, you're going to be able to realize that there is a pretty big homeless population and just problem in general. Not only do they have their little communities within the city, but they're also scattered throughout the streets, panhandling and all that stuff. And I've never personally ran into any issues. I've never had any safety concerns or anything like that. I'll occasionally give them some money, but it's never been a problem. It's just something to be aware of if you do want to be moving to this area. All right, reason number 2 not to live in Tucson. Now this one will definitely deter some of you out here, but it's the pests and the animals. Now Arizona and Tucson in general just have an abundance of species and different types of animals. We're honestly surrounded by national forests and mountains, and we just have so many of those animals and pests and reptiles just coming down into the city. Now, just like with any other location, the more rural you start getting out, the more animals and pests you might start seeing. And as you start coming into the city, you're obviously not going to see anything like mountain lions or things like that. But me personally, I'm going to tell you my personal experience. Like I said, I live out in Vail, and I've had a scorpion in my home. I've had wasps outside. I've never encountered a snake. I have seen them, but I have encountered some toads out here. And that's something that you really want to be aware of, especially if you have pets, because those toads are venomous. And also, we have rattlesnakes that, curl up into any little hole that you may have outdoors. And people actually train their dogs to actually stay away from any toads or snakes that they might see. Also, in particular, the lighting out here is, I wouldn't say bad, but it's just really limited. There aren't any street lights. I think there's like a city ordinance saying that we're going to have a limited amount of street lights. But everything past the South Tucson area and coming into Vail, there's essentially no street lights. So there's been a couple of times where I've almost smacked into a javelina. If you don't know what these are essentially like wild hogs. And they'll come out in families sometimes straight out of nowhere. And like I said, I've almost hit them. I've had to swerve pretty hard sometimes. And sometimes you might occasionally see them, some roadkill ones or even coyotes too on the road. And one last thing, termites. Termites are pretty common out here. Anytime you see an older home, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to see a history of some kind of termites or that they've been treated in the wood. So remember to do your due diligence when you're buying a home and just keep that in mind too in general, that that's something that you might face in the future. All right, before I give you this last reason, again, my name is Emilio. I'm a local realtor out here in Arizona, Tucson, Davis-Monthan Air Force Base, and I've also been active duty for almost a decade now. And if you need any help with buying or selling a home, or if you just have questions, shoot me a text. My phone number is 520-820-1948, or I'd be happy to take a call from you too. Or if you want more of a one-on-one experience, click my link down below and we can set up a Zoom call. All right, reason number one, not to live in Tucson, but the limited nightlife. Now, granted, we do have the university out here and a pretty young population out there, and that's really the limited nightlife that I was referring to. Within that area, there's just a few streets, and that's also considered downtown, by the way, is right next to the university. But in that area, there's a few streets, and they do have a decent amount of bars and things like that where you can just go walk around in. But other than that, it's going to be pretty limited. There are other little small spots scattered around the city, and you can find things out there like restaurants, movie theaters, clubs, and things like that. Now, again, if you're coming from a bigger city, this is definitely going to be a smaller scene for you. And honestly, Tucson is really just more known for its actual food and the amount of restaurants that they have. And although they do have some Hispanic places where you can go out at night, it's still going to be pretty limited as far as that. So if going out every weekend is something that you enjoy, this is something that you might want to consider. All right, again, my name is Emilio. I'm a local realtor out here and I'm also active duty. And if you have any questions about buying or selling, reach out to me and me and my team can help you out. Again, my phone number is 520-820-1948. All right, see you.